Alright, welcome to From the Abyss to Zoolander for our third episode. We just watched the last episode of Game of Thrones, so we're recovering from that a little bit.
Yes, it'll be difficult getting to the headspace of where we're at now, which is a summer movie preview.
Yeah, we thought it would be a good opportunity because all the American summer seems to start a little earlier every year now. So we've already seen the first couple, so we started with Avengers Endgame. Everyone's very excited about that. We've seen that, obviously. And we won't go into too much detail. I think we might actually do a full review of that later. We'll get our guest from the other week, Bianca, to watch that, see how lost she is during that. So Avengers came out 26th of April. These are the American release dates. Then we have Long Shot coming out. That came out last week. Kind of got crushed by the Avengers, second week of Avengers, but we actually saw it on Friday and I really enjoyed it.
Yeah, it was really good.
I thought more and more impressed with Seth Rogen and his chemistry with very attractive women that are way out of his league. Next is Detective Pikachu coming up. We're actually seeing that on Friday, so that'll be exciting. We might do a review of that as well. That comes out on the 10th of May. The Hustle comes out 10th of May as well. Then we've got John Wick 3 on the 17th of May. The remake of Aladdin, live action remake, comes out on the 25th of May. The Elton John biopic Rocketman comes out the 31st of May. The sequel to Godzilla comes out 31st of May as well. Then we get into June movies with Dark Phoenix and Late Night. New one with Mindy Kaling and Emma Thompson. The trailer just dropped the other day. It looks pretty good. Men in Black then comes out on the 14th of June. Then Toy Story on the 21st of June. Then we get into July. We've got new SpiderMan, got Lion King, got Once Upon a Time in Hollywood. Dora the Explorer, the live-action version of that with Instant Family star Isabel Murner. And then in the first week of August, we've got Hobbs and Shaw, which looks... I've seen the trailer, and that looks crazy. We'll see.
Maybe the only Fast and Furious movie that I'm genuinely excited to see.
Yeah. So we thought we'd go through... We picked 3 movies each that we're excited about, and then we picked a couple that we're a bit nervous about. So let's get started. So the first movie that I'm a bit excited about is Detective Pikachu. And I mentioned this a little bit in our last Sonic the Hedgehog trailer discussion. All the marketing for this movie has been fantastic, and I think Ryan Reynolds seeing Ryan Reynolds' voice come out of Pikachu was unexpected, but it fits for some reason.
Yeah, I think it just looks like it's gonna be fun. Like it's just like a bit different. Like it's definitely it seems like a very interesting way to deal with that cartoon, like having some, history watching the original cartoon. Yeah, it seems like a neat little twist. I'll be interested to see how they pull it off. But it just seems, a bit different than just we're doing a live action Pokemon movie, very cut and dry, what you would normally get. So.
I remember when they first announced that film, they announced Ryan Reynolds was starring in it. I thought that he would be like a live action guy.
Yeah, he'd be a Pokemon trainer. You just say
I thought he'd be a human, and then the first trailer comes out and he's the voice of Pikachu, and that was both insane and perfect at the same time. But yeah, super excited for this. It's not getting great reviews, but I'm still keen to see it. Next.
So next is one of my choices, and we may end up actually talking about 2 movies at the same time. I'm excited for the live-action Aladdin remake. This was a movie that it wasn't my favorite as a kid, but it was like probably close second of that sort of Disney Renaissance era. Kind of happened when I was a kid. I just think it looks really fun. I love the music, so I'm very interested to see that done. Especially like the Beauty and the Beast they did a couple years ago was quite good. I didn't love it. I was a bit more critical because that one is like one of my all-time favorites. But I think Aladdin will be... I think it's definitely one that it could use a remake. And I'm very excited, like just looking at the cast. Quite a lot of people I'm not familiar with, but I really love that. Lots of people of color. Doesn't seem to be a whole lot of whitewashing that you can see right now. Of course, we'll wait and see. But I think it'll be really fun. What's her name? Naomi Scott from Power Rangers. She's super cute. She's Jasmine. I think she's perfect. I'm assuming she can sing.
She can. She's released albums.
That's perfect then, because I mean I love Emma Watson, but there was just some notes that I'm like, I really wish they just cast someone who could sing.
I thought she did a really good job with the singing, at least.
Yeah. She did a fair job. I just think the singing was a bit beyond her talent, and I would have preferred someone with a bit more singing talent. So I'll be interested to see, what Naomi Scott can do, especially because as they did with Beauty and the Beast, where they added a solo song for the Beast that wasn't in the animated movie. They've written one for Jasmine, so she'll get her a little solo.
How do you feel about Will Smith as the genie?
I don't mind. I feel like if you're going to have to replace Robin Williams, which is always going to be tough, I feel like he could be really fun. I'm assuming they're going to maybe redo, Friend Like Me, it's going to be a little bit more of a rap. This will be a little, fun. You haven't heard Will Smith rap in a long time. I think what mostly I just learned today that Guy Ritchie directed it, which I think will be very interesting. Like, I kind of love when they have these directors who are known for like a particular style and then they're trying to slot them into these big studio pictures. So I'll be interested if it ends up being just really terrible or if it's going to be something more along the lines of like, Taika Waititi doing Thor Ragnarok that didn't seem like a good fit for the Marvel Universe and that turned out really great. So it'll be interesting. Especially I think too coming off the heels of Dumbo with Tim Burton. Haven't been hearing a whole lot about that one. But that was another one where I'm like, it's very odd having him do a Disney film. So I think Guy Ritchie's another odd fit, but I'm interested to see how that works out.
I'm keen to see Will Smith as the genie too. I agree with you that replacing Robin Williams would have been almost impossible, but I think Will Smith has the charisma to maybe pull it off. And I can't see him imitating Robin Williams. He's going to do his own thing, which isn't necessarily a bad thing.
I think that's the only way you can do it. I think it would be terrible if they had someone there basically just try to imitate Robin Williams. It's, never going to work.
Okay, so next we're going to talk about Men in Black. Men in Black International.
Yes, they're international now.
Yeah, so this is going to England, I think. And Hemsworth is this. He's a hot agent in London, and he meets up with Tessa Thompson, who's an American. She's a noob agent, and she gets sent over to hang out with Hemsworth. I'm keen to see this purely because Hemsworth needs to do more comedy. He is hilarious, and you can see it in the Thor movies. You can see it in he was easily one of the funniest parts of Endgame. He was hilarious in Ghostbusters. And I'm keen to see him do this and try and be funny in a whole movie and see if he can carry that. And I think he will. I think it'll be a successful branch out into comedy for him. And him and Tessa Thompson were so good together in Thor. I'm keen to see that partnership again.
Yeah, I usually don't like watching trailers, so I can say I have not seen a trailer for this. I tend to wait if it's something that I'm a little bit interested in. I kind of want to wait and just see the trailer in the theater. I just prefer to have as little, exposure to it as possible. So I haven't seen this one because, I do really love Men in Black. Maybe not Men in Black 2. But certainly the first one and the third one I quite liked. This one, I'm sold, on Hemsworth and Tessa Thompson. They were, I just think they're a great pairing.
Your boy, Big Sick, is a voice of an alien in this as well.
Oh, all right then.
Kumail Nanjiani.
Yes. Yeah. So I think it'll be good just based on the casting. Not necessarily good, but I'm excited for it. So I'm assuming we'll see a trailer at some point in the theater and maybe revise it. But yeah.
Cool. Okay. Next up, Sally's excited about Once Upon a Time in Hollywood.
Yes, I am. So Once Upon a Time in Hollywood is basically Quentin Tarantino delving into the 60s, the Manson family, the Sharon Tate murders. As excited as I am about this one, I am also quite nervous. It's just a very, very sensitive subject, and I don't know if I 100% trust Quentin Tarantino to really treat it with respect. We'll see, because I think it's similar to, Django, where he's dealing with, the horrors of slavery, and he still kind of does his own bent, but it's still from his very narrow perspective. More interested, too, because I was looking at a little bit of the plot, and it centers more on, Leonardo DiCaprio and Brad Pitt's characters. Leonardo DiCaprio is an actor, Brad Pitt's his stunt double. So it'll be interesting to see how that all is going to weave into these very famous murders and just Hollywood in general at that era.
Well, I wouldn't be surprised if he kind of does his own thing, like he did with Inglourious Basterds a little bit, where he plays with history and writes his own story. I mean, and then it's just the Charles Manson thing is he kind of plays with that a little bit.
Yeah, I mean, I could definitely see that. At the same time, I just think I don't know, it'd be weird. I know Sharon Tate's family have been quite vocal about they're not very happy about this.
Well, I'm sure there were plenty of World War II soldiers that weren't happy that he changed the ending of that war as well.
I mean, I think maybe it's a little different how many World War II soldiers are actually seeing a Quentin Tarantino movie. And
I'm sure there would have been some.
I know, this is just much closer in history, and it's...
It does look good, though. Have you seen the previews? Look really,
I saw
really
the
good.
little teaser trailer at one point. I mean, definitely, the fashion and, all the, sort of neon lights and very 60s aesthetic and Mamas and the Papas music. And, yeah, I'm hesitantly excited because it does fit into that wheelhouse of I like, true crime and, it's like a bit of a thriller. And I love Leonardo DiCaprio in Django. I love Brad Pitt in Inglourious Basterds. I'm so glad they're coming together. So glad, too, that he ended up not casting Tom Cruise because apparently he was up for the Brad Pitt role at one point, I learned today. I just think those two are going to be magic. At least I'm hoping. So, I mean, I'm excited. There's also some other, Margot Robbie as Sharon Tate. Dakota Fanning's going to be Squeaky Fromme. Like, it seems like very interesting casting. I'm saying I'm excited, even though I'm a little hesitant. But, yeah, it certainly falls into that wheelhouse. And I'm always interested to see what Quentin Tarantino's going to do, even if I don't 100% love it at the end.
Okay. Next up is return to the Marvel Universe, where we get the next Spider-Man film. I guess we don't want to go into spoilers too much, but I'm really keen to see what the Marvel Universe looks like after Endgame. And this is really difficult to talk about without going into spoilers, but loved Homecoming, and I'm keen to see more of that character. The Spider-Man character when Sony did him on their own, they never really got him right. The Tobey Maguire Spider-Man wasn't great, had decent villains, and then Andrew Garfield Spider-Man was actually okay, but his villains were pretty ordinary. This is the first time I think we've had a good Spider-Man with good villains. I'm really keen to see Jake Gyllenhaal as Mysterio, and I'm from the trailers and from the photos that I've seen, it looks like they're working together for at least a portion of the film, which is interesting because Mysterio is a villain in Spider-Man universe, but keen to see what they do with the after effects of Endgame. Keen to see what they do with Peter Parker and the people that he went to school with, because MJ's still there. I can't remember his name. His fat friend's still there. So they're all in this film, and the main reason I'm excited about this is just to see A, more Marvel films. B, the first film after Endgame is quite exciting to see what comes after that.
Yeah, I think it'll be, again, without going into in-game stuff, I'm interested in seeing, how his friends are involved, because if you've seen in-game, I can't quite work out the math on that, or, what was happening with, Spider-Man's friends and stuff. But, yeah, I think it'll be fun. I am noticing, too, because you picked Men in Black International, which is also in the UK, and Spider-Man Far From Home is also in the UK, so... you like your little roots when they go traveling abroad, it looks like.
Yeah, speaking of the UK, next movie is set in the UK as well.
Yes. So my third pick for what I am excited about, probably the one I'm the purely most excited about, even though I'm not 100% convinced it's going to be great, is Rocket Man. So this is the Elton John biopic. The reason I picked this is because I think it's going to hit a lot of the same chords as Bohemian Rhapsody did. Lots of similarities I'm seeing, so, they both seem like they'd be fun. In that, though, I feel like the trailer for this that I have seen is slightly underwhelming. It just felt like, for someone with such an illustrious music career, they just didn't use the music well in the trailers, which was the exact same feeling I got when I saw the Bohemian Rhapsody trailer. Didn't love a lot of how they were using Queen's music in that, but it's, that similar thing. I feel like for me, Elton John and Queen kind of hit that same, space in, my headspace of music and, everything growing up. So I think it's going to be similar on that end. It's also, Elton John and his husband are producers. So, members of Queen were producers on Bohemian Rhapsody. The one thing I think, though, that's maybe going to set this apart is it doesn't seem like it's a very straightforward, like, biopic. It looks like they have some weird, like, fantasy musical elements to it, like dream sequences or like I'm on drugs and I'm seeing things. So it seems like it's maybe taking it a little bit different, a different track than Bohemian Rhapsody. Like when you're going to see music, it seems like maybe sometimes the music is not just him playing music on stage. So it'd be interesting to see how this one plays out, considering, Bohemian Rhapsody was this giant hit. Wasn't a great movie. Like, it was fun. Wasn't great. I feel like this one's going to be kind of similar, maybe.
One of the things I'll say about this is, tell me something I don't already know. I know Elton John makes good music. I don't need to see that. That was my biggest complaint with Bohemian Rhapsody. It did not tell me anything about Freddie Mercury that I couldn't read on his Wikipedia page.
Yeah, I feel like it was just a very surface rendering of, like, this was his life. These are the ups and downs, but we're only going to take you slightly up and slightly down.
I feel like there was so much more they could have gone into, and they didn't. And that was fine. It was a good movie. But the fact that it was nominated for Oscars kind of blew my mind a little bit.
Yeah.
I was... Rami Malek, who played Freddie Mercury, he was great and deserved his Oscar. But all the other stuff, Best Picture...
Yeah, Best Picture...
I did not see that at all. I thought it was a good film, but it was mostly good because Queen make amazing music, and that was something that we already knew. So with this Rocket Man movie, tell me something I don't know. I don't need to know that Elton John makes good music.
Yeah,
I already know that. This movie doesn't need to be about that.
Yeah, I think it'll be interesting. I did see that, it does kind of delve into, like, obviously his sexuality, his drug abuse.
But then they're already doing better than Bohemian Rhapsody.
Yeah, I think the main thing will be, is Elton John a little bit more open and truthful with his fans than, the surviving members of Queen were willing to be. It's a little bit of a different situation. Elton John's still alive, so maybe he's like, yeah, I can put it all on the table, whereas if you're telling someone else's story, as the Queen, Bohemian Rhapsody was, you might feel a little bit more protective. But then also, you've got the thing of, Straight Outta Compton. They were all producers on that film as well, and so they were very much, like, trying to protect their own legacy, trying to protect Eazy-E's legacy. Oh, we're just going to gloss over this. We're going to completely ignore this bad part of our history. Even though these movies are so hit and miss, I'm still very fascinated with, like, someone telling their own story.
I'm too. I'm keen. I'm definitely keen to see it, and I'm keen to see Taron Egerton as Elton John. He's the guy from He's Eggsy in Kingsman.
Well, and Elton John was in the Golden Circle with him.
Yeah.
So.
Yeah. Keen to see him, and he looks, in the pictures I've seen in the trailers, he's perfect. He looks exactly like it.
He looks like him. I feel like his voice doesn't really match him. And I can't tell if he's actually singing the songs. Because I was reading, like, he and Elton John recorded a song together for the soundtrack for this movie. So it seems like maybe he's doing some of his own singing. Also seems like they're doing a play for, best song for a movie for an Oscar. So it'll be interesting. I'll be interested, like, to see that come together.
Okay, now we're going to get into the movies that we're a little bit nervous about, a little bit apprehensive.
To be fair, I feel like I've been apprehensive about all of mine, but this is one that I'm very apprehensive. But we'll do yours first.
Okay, so mine is The Hustle. For those of you that don't know, it is a gender-swapped remake of Dirty Rotten Scoundrels. The original had Michael Caine and Steve Martin in it, and they've remade it with Anne Hathaway and Rebel Wilson. I love the original. It's one of the best comedies that I've ever seen. That
was one of the ones that you were like, I cannot believe you haven't seen Dirty Rotten Scoundrels, especially because I'm a big Steve Martin fan.
I remember my sister and me went and saw that when I was about 8 years old. I had I was 8 years old. I wanted to see Ninja Turtles. No interest in seeing Dirty Rotten Scoundrels, but thank you, Andrea, for introducing me to the Dirty Rotten Scoundrels movie, because it's one of my favourites now, and I'm just so concerned that this movie's going to tarnish that legacy. I look at the trailers, and Anne Hathaway is doing a ordinary English accent, and I don't know if that's something that she's putting on as part of the con or something that she's acting like that's her real voice in the movie. Very concerned about that. I feel like Rebel Wilson is getting a little bit old. She was really good. She was really good, really funny in Pitch Perfect the first time, but it seems like every movie that she's in, she's just playing that same person.
Yeah, I think she's...
And that gets old.
Very
gets old real
dangerously being typecast, for sure.
It's not that she's being typecast. There are plenty of people that are typecast and they play the same person and they do it really well.
Yeah, I feel like Melissa McCarthy she leans into that dirtbag lady as well.
But she's good at it, and it's still she finds a way to keep it fresh. Rebel Wilson is not managing to do that.
Ben, that is un-Australian.
Well, I thought Hugh Jackman was a terrible Wolverine as well, so kick me out.
Tell us all about Nicole Kidman.
Kick me out. But yeah, very apprehensive about this movie. We'll still see it, but very, very, very worried that this is going to crash and burn. The other movie that I'm a bit apprehensive about is Dark Phoenix, and for the same reason. I read the X-Men comics growing up. They were probably the only comics that I read religiously. I read other stuff on and off, but I read X-Men a lot. And to date, none of the movies have lived up to my expectations. And this one, it just looks like it's going to be more of the same. I love Sansa Stark as Jean Grey. I think she's perfect. Now that the rights are back at Marvel, if there's one thing they can bring over from that universe, Sansa Stark as Jean Grey, I can see that, and she could play the role for a few years, especially now Game of Thrones is over. But I look at these movies, look at the trailers for Dark Phoenix, and I just think this has problem written all over it. And it's for the same reason as I'm apprehensive about The Hustle. Love the source material. Don't ruin it.
I'm gonna push back a little bit on The Hustle ruining Dirty Rotten Scoundrels, because kind of really, is that really seeing that movie gonna make you enjoy the original any less? I kind of hate when people say that.
No, I don't think it won't make me hate the original any less, but it is gonna taint it a little bit.
I don't see how. I don't know. I can't really think of any example of anything that they remade that I really loved.
The poster says they're giving Dirty Rotten Men a run for their money. They're leaning into that Dirty Rotten Scoundrels remake, and if this is awful, how can it not?
I don't know. I have to kind of think if there's anything that they've remade that I just absolutely love that now just tarnishes the original to any extent to me. I just don't see how that's possible. I don't know how you can retroactively ruin something that you love.
Well, I'll give you an example.
Someday when they redo Harry Potter and...
I'll give you an example. The Matrix sequels have kind of tainted the original for me a little bit.
Oh, so I was never that into the original. So for me...
That's not the point.
No, I'm just saying it's not a good example for me. I'll give it a think. I will give it a think, and I will come back to you on that. I will try to think of something that they've remade or whatever.
Okay, well let's move on to your movie. What if this one is terrible?
I guess we'll see. So the one I am nervous about is Toy Story 4. I don't think it's going to ruin it for me, and I will get into that. So the main reason I am very nervous about this one is because I feel like this was a sequel nobody was asking for. And not because, sometimes they're people don't want a sequel because it's terrible. This is, because those three movies are, I think, some of the best, series of movies. Every single one, I felt, built on the original, the first, and they got better as they went along, and it just ended so perfectly with number 3. I don't know where the hell you would even go with number 4. It's just setting up the same exact cycle of the toys have a child, the toys get lost, the toys come back. Eventually, the toys are gonna get shoved aside because the little girl's gonna grow up and not want to play with them anymore. It's literally just redoing the first 3. I will be very interested to see if they come up with a fresh idea for it. Pixar is very big on we don't make sequels unless we have a good story. That said, Cars 2 was a piece of shit. Finding Dory, perfectly lovely film, nowhere in my top 10 of Pixar films. Same thing with Incredibles 2. Great movie. Nowhere near the original. I haven't even watched it since the theater. But that said, neither of those ruin, Finding Nemo or The Incredibles for me. They're just there. I choose not to watch them. Cars 2 didn't ruin Cars for me. So I feel like, Toy Story 4, even if it's shit, it's not going to ruin the first 3 for me. I'm just going to be like, that's over there. I'm not going to look at it. Maybe this is my example. Indiana Jones 4 does not ruin Raiders of the Lost Ark for me. It's definitely nowhere near as good, but it's just over on its own little thing. I'll watch it. It's fun to watch. Don't love it. So I feel like Toy Story 4, I just worry is going to get into that little, this is now over here.
I tend to agree with you. The only glimmer of hope that I have for this movie is I don't think everyone would come back.
That's a thing
unless
too.
They had a really good idea. You
Guys
like Tom Hanks, guys like Tim Allen, and even, he's having some problems. I remember John Lasseter was involved. He came back. It was his story. I don't think they all come back unless it's worth coming back to. And that's where I'm thinking maybe it will be good.
Yeah, that's the only thing. Yeah, I'm just holding on to that they got them back. Isn't, who did Little Bo Peep? She's back as well. Annie Potts, yeah. So
Designing Women.
Yes.
And Ghostbusters.
Oh, it's all here. Yeah, I mean, I'm nervous, but crossing my fingers that somebody at Pixar knows what they're doing. Because even when they make the only bad sequel they've made is Cars 2. Every other sequel they've made, maybe don't love it, definitely not as good as original, but they're perfectly fun movies, and I will watch them multiple times.
I think Toy Story is a little different. There's a lot of investment in Toy Story, much more than Finding Nemo, Incredibles, Monsters. There's a lot more investment in the Toy Story franchise than there is in any of those others.
Yeah, I mean that was their flagship. That's the one they always go back to.
It was their first one.
Yeah, I was just so flabbergasted when I found out that they were making a 4th one, because it's truly, I think, one of the most perfect set of movies and sequels ever made. It's up there with Back to the Future. I think all those are solid. I know a lot of people don't like 3 that much, but
I do. I love 3.
Yeah,
I love them all.
I think it's so fun. Oh, you gotta excuse us. Our cats are in here, so if you hear a little bit of crinkling,
we have our own podcast cat.
We haven't trained them how to meow at the end though, like My Favorite Murder. That's coming. I just they're just Toy Story is just perfect. But I don't think that necessarily means they're untouchable. I just think maybe it's too early. That's all. Give it another 10 years and then bring it back. Okay,
that was our last movie that we're unsure about. I'm not necessarily unsure about that one, but Sally certainly is. That wraps up our summer movie preview. Please comment, like, subscribe.
All that jazz.
Come talk to us. We're always happy to receive feedback.
Tell us where we're wrong. Tell us where, Toy Story 4 is going to be the greatest film ever made, and...
Yeah, tell me how wrong I am about The Hustle.
We will. I'll tell you next week. All right, that's it.
Thanks, guys. See you later.